And then the larger piston that would be in the middle would seal off the oil reservoir where it could do the large tonnage. These two cylinders can't provide a lot of tonnage, but they can move it quickly. All right, that kind of makes sense? Well, when I'm doing this operation, I need a lot of oil. I mean, they're large cylinders, and they're traveling over a long distance. So I'm filling a lot of cavity in behind it. So you see where the volume comes in. Still want to maintain 3,000 or 5,000 psi, but now they have a lot of volume. So now those gallons come into play. All of them are producing 5,000 psi, but one's doing it at 10 gallons a minute, and one's doing it at 60 gallons a minute, and then I start adding the 60s. You see where this equation comes to fruition, where I get what I need. Is it confusing, or is it making sense? Everybody understand? Yes, no?
Yeah.
I guess the similarity would be, remember when they used to farm with horses and mules? And you've seen the teams? You'd have one farmer might have one horse and he'd have a 1 or 2 bottom plow, and that's all he can use in the garden. Then he'd have the other farmer have 2 or 3 horses or mules. Or he may have 6 as his team. He's able to do a whole lot more work through a lot longer part of the day. Because that one mule with 2 bottom, by midday he's done. And done for the day. If you don't take him in, he's going to be done, period. Right? Because you've done work beyond his capability. But now I start using teams. So imagine the pumps equate to the horses. The more I bring in, the more work volume I can do. Is that a proper analogy there? Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. Jeff, you said you was going to explain that for me. You didn't even speak up. You get the next one, all right? Now, are we paying closer attention to the schematics and the symbols that are getting used? So I know the answer to this, but I will ask it. You don't have to say no. But start looking at these so we're learning what each symbol represents, all right? Now, they get into 2, 3-way, and 4-way directional valves. And the other thing I mentioned, if you paid attention to my storage cabinets over in the far left corner, look at all those different symbols on there, and you're looking at all the different style directional valves. The trainer is a 4-way valve. Real explanatory, right? Controls four methods of movement, right? And the one they're showing here is actually a block port. What do I mean by block port, Jeff?
No flow is going through the middle when it's in this picture spot.
See, you didn't lie to me. You got the next one.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You the man. I don't care what John said.
John, what you said?
All right. So now what they're actually doing within this lesson, and I might have to move it up here a little bit. We're only got about 20 minutes. They're actually showing how the flow happens through the cylinder, or through this actual directional valve, and how it interacts with the port or with the spool that's in there. Shows you when you got straight through, crossover, and then block port. At block port, there's nothing going to happen. Now, you can get some seepage. Generally, you don't, but you can. So, what a lot of people don't, they don't rely on the directional valve to keep a hydraulic cylinder totally in place. Sometimes they may keep it fired in one direction if it needs to be supported where gravity can take over. Or they may have a piloted lock. Now, what do I mean by this? A piloted lock or piloted check on each end of the cylinder. Anybody got an idea what I'm referring to? Jeff, you got that one too?
I think it might, when
What would be the purpose of a piloted check?
Well, I know the check is to stop the flow from returning back into, but
So now if I use piloted oil to operate the check, what would the piloted oil do? Maybe open that check up so then oil could flow?
no,
Just
yeah,
look up.
yeah.
See, you got it. Think how advantageous that would be. If I got a spring-loaded check on there that uses piloted oil, and this is on, you'll see it a lot on pneumatic systems. They'll use a small amount of pilot air to push that check open so that air flows through normally. As soon as I need that held in position, I remove that pilot air, and it's just like plugging that port. So it holds the cylinder where it's at. Now the only way the cylinder's going to drift at that point is if there's leakage around the piston in the cylinder. Right?
Yeah.
See? Well, you should be teaching this, Jeff. There you go. All right, now we're looking at the 4 different center configurations on a 3-directional valve or a 3-position valve. Again, top one they call it closed center. We've always called it block port. Then they call it a tandem center where the pressure just dumps back to tank. You're not sitting there, you're not deadheaded, you're not relying on your relief valve. It's dumping oil back to tank. Then there's float centers where that means that cylinder can move either way. If something's not holding it, don't you rely on this thing to keep anything anywhere, because it means that both sides of the cylinder could relieve either way, depending on what gravity's got a hold on it. The oil can go back to tank. And then you got open center, and that's again letting everything, pressure and everything back to tank. All right. I mean, essentially, if you're looking at the cylinder, that'd be like, remember how you put the hose on each end of the cylinder so you can move the cylinder in and out?
Yeah.
That's essentially doing that. When you got the float center or the open center, that's what it's like. Except with the open center, now even my pressure is going back to tank with what can come from the cylinder. All right. Now it gets into testing. The other thing I'm going to tell you guys, which I haven't done yet, I've been nice to you. Here at upcoming exercises, things may not work the way they should. And then, huh? We have parts that just don't work the way they should. So you put a system together and you've checked it out through simulation. You know it should work this way or work that way. Should have this amount of pressure, should get this much movement, and it doesn't work. And after you confirm that you plumbed it right, troubleshoot it. Everybody's smiling. Don't like to troubleshoot? There's no electricity on it.
You said oil.
Yeah.
What are you mostly doing? We're talking about.
He's saying he don't want to do anything unless he don't want to troubleshoot anything unless it's got electricity with it. That's the way I read that. Am I correct in that assessment? All right. I think it's he don't want dirt under his fingernails. You got the manicure, they put the clear coat on, and I'm taking on you, Chris. All right, so we see the schematic here. How they're setting things up. And again, it looks like they're going to lift the power unit. And they're going to run through this scenario. Pardon me. And here's part of your exercise. I'm going to try to go through this quickly here. You get to perform at 400 and 500, and they're actually, I guess you're going to measure the retraction time. Record cylinder moving and cylinder stopped. Hope it doesn't, you don't have to slow it down too much. Some of you guys never get done. All right. Exercise 3-2, and I think that's where we start. You're going to describe the operation of the series circuit and to cause two cylinders to start and stop at the same time by connecting them in series. Now we get to use two cylinders. And by the way, guys, I don't know who did their lab last, but shouldn't we not retract the cylinder before we walked away? I have to start dinging points on this.
Why?
But I don't want it left out.
No, not why. Why though? Is there a reason behind that other than you know?
Well, the one reason would be if say we're finishing up with hydraulics and we're moving on to motor controls, and that's left out. Now I run the risk that I can introduce rust and corrosion to the surface of that shaft, which in turn wipes out my seals in the end of the cylinder, which in turn creates oil on me or someone else when they go to fire it back up. That last intern, nah. I've had enough oil coatings in my time. I went home, looked like I've been dipped in a bucket. Huh? Actually, it was a 4-inch hydraulic line ruptured. We had oil that shot 60 feet in the air. We kind of chuckled at first, but the lady that was next to it that had a brand new white out. I mean, everything was white. She had a nice little white hat, and a white top and shorts.
Used to be.
Black.
Used to be. That'd been something to see.
Well, no, well, the bad part about the oil is about 135, 140 degrees.
Oh, I bet she's mad and hot.
Well, what would you have been? Because it's middle of summer too.
Yeah.
She got burned up, didn't she?
It wasn't good. Of course, then we had to take our bucket lift and go up to 60 feet in the air and wipe the insulation down in the ceiling where the oil had splashed on it, because they didn't want oil dripping on anybody while they were working.
What kind of insulation? Like the R35 or whatever?
It was a plastic coated R35 insulation. Or vinyl coated, I should say.
Sprayed.
It was almost 6 hours before we got the equipment up and running again.
So how did that happen?
What? It was a BX, the BX 4-inch hydraulic line. It just failed. It was 40 years old.
Did you say 4-inch?
4-inch. Yeah. It fed all the hydraulic oil for the injection unit. That machine went to go inject pressure at, I think that machine was running it at 1,200 or 2,000 PSI.
Shouldn't they have an encasing over that line just in case something
The new ones do have Kevlar sleeves over, but this was a 1965 injection molding machine.
So, no pressure detector for when that drop went off then?
No.
So it just dumped you a couple of, I imagine, 100-gallon tank?
Oh, that one probably had close to probably 2,000 gallons in the tank.
So the cleanup was done with vacuum, not with mop?
Oh, when we had to do a cleanup, Dalton, there was nothing done with a mop. It was large barrel vacuums. 55-gallon drums that had vacuums that sealed on the top of them, and that's how you cleaned up an oil spill. And it was generally 4 or 5 people with vacuums. You had generally 3 or 4 with these large 4-foot wide squeegees that tried to push the oil to the vacuums. Yeah, there was no such thing as a little oil leak.
Well, we know how far it's line went from now.
We had the 10-inch one that dumped all 55-gallon drums of oil from the tank. That happened twice. But that was a factory defect. Nah, Chris McCork would not like that. Yes, sir.
Just gonna put this
You can get it up next time, that's fine. I'm just making a point, but thank you for standing up. Thank you for manning up. I didn't know it was you, but thank you for manning up.
I raised my hand when you said something.
No, guys, I mean, a lot of people don't stand up for what they do. My hat's off to you. All right, now here's the circuit. I'm gonna wind this up. We got 9 minutes. And I believe it's 2, 3, and 4 that we're performing on this. And there's cylinders in parallel, we got them in series. And you get to see, and then we get into regenerative circuits. And that's it. Guys, if you're gonna be out tomorrow, depending on the weather, please be careful, all right? Yes, sir.
About what we were supposed to do for today. I don't think anyone got started on.
On
2-4, 2-4, the last one.
Yeah.
I think we all have the first two done.
All right, let me look.
We got 2, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4.
That's later. That's 2 weeks, man. We're still working on
All right, 2-4 to work and power. You should have touched on it by now. Do what you can do with the math that it does at the beginning of it at home. You can hopefully get each other's cell phone numbers if you go team up, and then turn it in. Don't worry about performing the hydraulics as far as connecting it. And go ahead and move on to unit 3. All right?
We're going for 2-3 today then.
Whatever you got completed, you can turn in, or I prefer that you go ahead and get the math part. I think there's math to do on that first part of 4.
So you just want me to put that on this page?
Yes.
Okay.
All right?
The review questions at the end of these. Is that part of the layup you want me to complete it?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, man. See you Monday. Yeah, Monday. Yeah, don't forget.
I would like to, because it's based on your experience with what happened.
Hey, Mr. Deeks, I was looking over here for like, you got, this is right here, that number for you, you want to get something for, well, that's
love it.
I had, but they got all the kind of this.
You can
Hey, send me a link.
You get half this.
Email me the link if you could.
What's your email?
DT.
At Blue Ridge?
Yeah, I work nights and I have rough nights. I can't get here too. Yeah.
You gonna make it in tomorrow? If we're open, Jason?
Yeah, I have class tomorrow.
Circuits.
Oh, yeah. Friday.
Are you coming in for any part of the PLC tomorrow?
Oh. But you know what? Probably not, because I'm working nights. But I do want to come in. So I'll try to fit it in somewhere.
All right. All right, guys. I got a test, so if you're going to converse.
That's still running?
Yep.
Yeah.